All right, Sam, let's get started. Can you hear me clearly?
Hi there.
Hi as well. Instead of doing a full sneaky breaky, I wanted to continue the format I did on my Watch Dogs 2 playthrough and cap the series off with my thoughts on the game in general. As I had never beaten the game before, it felt good to come back and finally clear it, and I got a lot out of the experience. Being the first of the series, it's a marvel how fully formed Splinter Cell is as a concept. This is the game that established the light and shadow mechanics and introduced the light meter to indicate concealment. This is the game that established how walk speed and terrain affected the sound of your footsteps and whether enemies could hear them. This is the game that established the importance of night and thermal vision modes and how they gave Sam an advantage over enemies in dark hallways and foggy meat lockers. This is the game that established the utility of tools like the optic cable and lockpicks to open up doors that would be otherwise inaccessible and to spot enemies who would be otherwise hidden behind those doors. This is the game that introduced enemy hazards like wall mines and sentry turrets and how you can use them against their owners.
Last week it was those turrets. This week it's wall mines.
Turn those back on!
This is the game where you could approach a guard and grab them, steer them to retinal scanners, interrogate them for information, use them as human shields as you shoot another target, and carry them to places where their friends couldn't find them. This is the game that would inject moments of action to disrupt your carefully plotted route, and force you to improvise to either sneak or fight your way out of a confrontation. This is the game where you can use non-lethal ammo in your rifle, like sticky shockers or diversion cameras, to neutralize guards at a distance without killing them. These concepts carried forward into later entries, and have been reworked for better and worse in the more action-oriented titles. What always distinguished Splinter Cell from Metal Gear Solid to me is the deliberateness of Sam's movements and the granularity of his walking speed. If you've played the game on PC, then you know how good it feels to have mouse wheel control how fast or slow Sam moves. There's a weightiness to Sam you have to account for, and it's something you feel every time he pulls himself up a ledge or settles into hanging from a pipe. And when guards become suspicious, it can feel tense when the caution music kicks in and the patrol becomes random. It's different from seeing a guard in MGS inspect where they heard a sound and then immediately run back to their post. I've been jumping back and forth between Splinter Cell and Chaos Theory to compare the two games, and although Chaos Theory feels like an overall improvement, there are some things I prefer from the first game. Most importantly, I like not having a score screen at the end of missions. As much as I like seeing the 100% notice when I clear a mission in Chaos Theory, the grading leans very heavily towards a non-lethal playstyle. Sometimes, I just want to pull out my rifle and dome a guy, and I'm glad the first game understood that and gave us clean attack.
Drop him!
Also, I think that Chaos Theory went overboard in some places when it came to automating complex animations and making them selections in the action menu. Instead of climbing up into a vent or squeezing through a tight passage, you just initiate those actions with the press of a button. I think the common assumption is that Conviction and Blacklist started dumbing down the gameplay when they implemented the auto cover mechanic and mark and execute, but my hot take is that these action menu bits are the canary in the coal mine. Like, even the split jump maneuver is a canned animation now. I gotta correct an assumption I had with Chaos Theory, where I thought the gas and the sticky cameras only knocked out 2 people at a time. There's an opportunity in the Abattoir mission to gas 3 guards at once. So I went back into Chaos Theory and tried to do the same thing in the Penthouse mission. And sure enough, it works. The spacing is just really tight. And I know it's a meme, but I prefer Sam's face in the first game over his wall-eyed face in Chaos Theory. And as great as Chaos Theory's music is, nothing beats the Suspicion music in the first game.
There's someone there.
But I admit that I like how much faster Sam moves in Chaos Theory, and how dropping down from a ledge or pipe now depends on pressing the crouch button instead of the jump button. It makes a lot more sense. The other thing I got out of replaying both games back to back is how several Chaos Theory missions seem to be inspired by elements in the first game. I know Clint Hawking went from writing and designing the first game to directing Chaos Theory, but I'd be interested in hearing him confirm this. For example, I kept seeing similarities between the CIA headquarters mission in Splinter Cell and Displaced International's offices in Chaos Theory. Because Displaced has contracts with the government, spying on them counts as interfering with a competing government body, like the CIA, so you have to be non-lethal for both missions. Both missions have firing ranges that introduce the automated turret in their respective games before you have to deal with them on the field. And both missions require you to enter the central server room of each building and extract intel that leads into the next mission. Another example would be the abattoir mission in the first game, and the bathhouse mission in Chaos Theory. The freezer area in the abattoir is covered in fog that allows Sam to sneak by unnoticed in the same manner as the steam in the shower rooms in the bathhouse. These areas are also where you have to deal with the automated turrets in actual missions. Hell, interrogate one of the bathhouse guards, and he'll explain the differences in both scenarios.
Gotcha.
Damn, I knew I'd get caught in here.
Tough break, pal. Tell me something I don't know.
Well, our thermal vision kit didn't get distributed yet, so we can't see for crap. But some of the guys that came in with Shetland, I think they're fully equipped.
Shetland's personal bodyguards have thermal?
I think so. Not that it does much good in steam. Steam isn't fog, like in an abattoir or something. Steam is warm, just like human bodies.
Good point. Thanks for the explanation.
Anytime.
And I had deja vu from the battery mission in Chaos Theory when I did this to the general in a second Chinese embassy mission. If I had to rank the missions based on my favorites, I'd say that going to the CIA and Cleanatech were my favorites for different reasons. The CIA mission is where you get your rifle for the first time, and it's interesting to see all the different departments and how they operate. It's like going through a guided tour of Langley, but without getting permission for it. Cleanatech is just fun to cut loose, especially in the last third of the mission where the firefights are just scripted to come out left and right.
Get out of the way!
The worst mission by far is the oil rig, because of the bad level collision in the opening segment, and how following the programmer too closely can lock you out of clearing the mission on a non-lethal run. I used to hate the abattoir mission, as that's where I stopped playing the game as a kid, but now that I understand how the minefield set piece works, it's not that bad. I do think someone from Sam's team should spell out the gimmick to the rooftop set piece. It would make that whole encounter 100 times less frustrating. The other really bad mission is the final one at Nikolaz's palace, but only because the courtyard area has a pair of dog handlers and a sniper overlooking it. It's hard to figure out when a dog will catch your scent, so sneaking by here can be a crapshoot. The rest of the campaign is fine, but I think a lot of missions rely on forced combat set pieces to spice things up, and hearing the combat music when you know you haven't tripped up an alarm can be confusing for new players. I think Chaos Theory does this better, as it lets you choose whether you want to sneak or fight your way out of certain set pieces. But the final area in the bathhouse still sucks, as does the back half of Soul. A standout mission for me when it comes to level design is when you come back to the Chinese embassy. You return to rooms you've already been to several times, but now you have additional insight as to their placement in relation to the rest of the map, and I think that's a really efficient use of level design. I'm glad I came back to the first Splinter Cell. It helped me to appreciate the later games like Chaos Theory even more, and it makes me want to look for the titles I haven't played yet, like Pandora Tomorrow and Double Agent, to see how their designs fit with the rest of the series. If you want to play it too, make sure to look up the widescreen fix on PC. Also, don't be embarrassed to look up gameplay videos if you're stuck on certain set pieces. And be mindful of the fact that you have to hide bodies in dark spots to avoid getting alerts when you move on to the next area.
Have you started yet? Fisher, holy Christmas, you're at the end. Phenomenal work. Let's move on.